Hey guys! So I wanted to do this video because it has already been 3 years that I've been living in my house, and it seemed like a good idea to do a bit of a retrospective of what I have accomplished in those 3 years as far as home reno goes. I think it's very healthy for me to look back and see how far that I've come because sometimes I forget just how much I've managed to do in those 3 years. And making these videos and like taking pictures and things like that really helped me to remember just how much work that I've actually put in and to not be so hard on myself when I'm maybe not getting done as much as I want to, or feel that I'm being lazy with not working on projects that I have planned. So for this video, what I want to do specifically is look through all the photos that I currently have on my computer of my house and just kind of discuss things that any thoughts that the pictures bring up. I actually have the original listing photos for the sale of the house back when I bought the house. I got onto the listing and I saved all of those photos. So I have the like original empty house photos of when they had the house up for sale. So I want to look through all of those and then the few photos that I have that I've taken like during the process of doing different reno projects for the house. So I want to start off with an easy one, and that is my basement. I've discussed before that I've done very little with my basement, especially as far as reno. I haven't done any reno in the basement yet. And I say yet because as you can see in this photo from before I moved into the house, they sort of semi-finished the basement with wood paneling on the walls and ceiling. And I actually want to rip all the paneling down, which might seem counterintuitive, but they paneled the ceiling, which makes it so that you can't access anything. So, like the electrical or the ducting and all that kind of stuff. You can't access any of it because the paneling is on the ceiling. So a lot of the time when you refinish basements, they'll actually put in drop ceilings so that you can still access all of that stuff. Actually finishing it off is kind of not the best option for basements because you need to be able to access all of those things. So I actually want to rip, at the very least, I want to get the paneling off of the ceiling. I haven't decided 100% on whether I want to take the paneling off of the walls as well, but I definitely want to get it off of the ceiling so that I'm able to access everything because I do want to run new electrical for the house at some point, and doing all of that now is basically impossible because you can't access anything. So I want to get all that taken down at some point. But other than that, I have actually kind of transformed the basement into a work area. Unexpectedly, I have, gotten into not just small projects, but I do, like building and things like that, like I did with the built-in in the bathroom. So I actually have like sawhorses and scrap wood and all that kind of stuff, and I store everything in the basement. So I actually have like a big shelf right here to store scrap wood, and I have this shelf here. I have actually um, cut down the bottom was water damaged, and I have that down here underneath the steps that stores a bunch of extra like grout and tiles and all that kind of stuff. All my tools are down in the basement, which I did actually do a video down in the basement in this area back in this corner that you can't see in this photo where I store all of my tools and everything like that. But other than that, like that's pretty much what the basement is for, is, where I keep all of that stuff. And also when I'm cutting wood or sometimes sanding wood or anything like that, I do that down in this basement area. But otherwise, no much, plans, like I said, as far as redoing the basement or anything like that. I just want to make it function a bit better by taking that paneling down so I can do upgrades for the house. And then I do have this second photo. This is taken from the other side, and you can kind of see this area over here is where you walk through into that little room where I have all my tools and everything. And then this door leads to my laundry room. So that's where my washer and dryer is, my hot water heater, my furnace, all of that is, back in this room, which is essentially the utility room of the basement. And then this little area right here, this is a shower. So in the area where I live, basement showers were really popular for factory workers. So, like, when you come home from the factory super dirty, you go into the basement and shower before going into the main area of the house. So, it's something that's pretty common in houses around the area. So, this is actually a shower right here. I personally hate it. Basement showers skeeve me out because they're not typically like a proper like shower. It's a lot of the time it's just a drain in the concrete floor and like a spigot attached to the wall, and that's it. Mine is a little bit more finished than that, but it's still not like a proper like full shower insert or anything like that. um I would personally never shower in the shower. It creeps me out so much. Something about showering in a basement in general is has always felt really creepy to me. But yeah, a random fact that I don't believe I've ever mentioned is that I do have a shower in my basement. It does work, but I'm never going to use it. Next room is the dining room. This is going to be a quick one as well because I haven't done anything super crazy with the dining room, but you can see from these photos, my most recent video was me finally figuring out what I want the dining room to be and trying to make it useful for me. So this is what the dining room looked like before I moved in. This is that chandelier that I mentioned that I took out. It was just so ugly. Like it wasn't actually like the ugliest thing in the world, but I just really did not like it. The way that the shades, they weren't like properly attached to the light and they were glass shades, so that like always made me anxious that one was just gonna fall one day and shatter on the floor. It was this like painted metal light. I took it down, scrapped the metal, and yeah, that was pretty much it. But yes, so that's the light that I mentioned that I replaced, and then this is the other side of the room. So this is kind of more of what you saw in that recent video as far as the angle of the room. This is where I put the little feeding station for the cats. This is where my little desk area is. And then these are the double windows that I want to do the big window seat and shelves, the huge built-in around these windows. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the dining room. I just have those two pictures. It's, I think, cool to see rooms when they're completely empty to just remember what they look like. And yeah, I definitely am glad that this chandelier is gone. Next room, let's move on to the kitchen. The big change that I've made to the kitchen was redoing the tile, which I did a whole video on that. It is still probably one of the most fun projects that I've done in the house, just because, as I discussed in the video, the amount of effort it took versus the payout felt like the biggest gain because it was relatively easy to do, but made such a drastic visual change in the kitchen. So I was really happy with how that came out. And I never actually mentioned in the video, but I spray painted the front panel of my stove white because it was this super black color. This is actually the screenshot that I used for the video of the transformation. So you can see I did the handle in the front panel in white just to make it not be so stark because all of my other appliances in the kitchen are white except for the stove. And this front panel on it is just a glass piece, so I spray painted the glass just to make it more white than black. And I just think it looks a lot nicer. And then you can see the transformation of the tile in the back, having it be all continuous and wrap around just looks a lot nicer. And yeah, that was the big thing. I do have more plans for the kitchen, but that's the big one that I've done so far. I did have this whole project of the baseboards behind the cabinets were never removed, so the cabinets wouldn't actually sit flush to the wall. So there was a baseboard back behind here, and then also a baseboard back behind the stove. So one of the first big like demos that I did in the house that was kind of like, oh, this is my house and I can rip things off of the wall. This is kind of crazy was ripping out the baseboards so that the cabinets could actually sit flush to the wall. It's kind of hard to tell in the picture, but they had this little trim piece attached, like right here, to hide the fact that the cabinet was like floating forward because of the baseboard. So yeah, I ripped that out and I also did a huge patch in the wall over here where there was some water damage. My chimney is actually right here, so I'm thinking that it was probably moisture from inside of the chimney that caused the damage on the wall. So I did patch that. And I had a bunch of cracking on the walls and ceiling as well because this back part of the house had settled, the foundation had settled over time and caused a lot of cracking. So that was also a big project that I did in the kitchen, which I've discussed in previous videos, and doing all of that cosmetic patching did make a pretty big uh, impact, I guess, with the kitchen. It just made it look a lot nicer. It's really hard to see in the photos, but you can see kind of down here in this corner some, it looks a little miscolored, some little bit of weirdness that you can just kind of make out here. That was patchwork that needed to be done where like the wall was uneven and things like that. And you can kind of see like gapping here around the washing machine. I also fixed that too by redoing the trim pieces around the washer to make it not have quite so much gapping because it just wasn't set in there quite right. So I did do that as well. One of the first things I had to do after moving in was fixing the lock on the back door because the catches weren't aligned, so you had to slam this door to get it to actually latch properly. So for the first like month that I was living here, I was actually parking out front because the lock on this door did not work properly and I didn't want to be slamming my door in the morning when I left trying to get it to latch. So that was actually one of the very first things that I had to do after moving in. And yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the main things coming to mind with this. You can see some pictures that I took in preparation of replacing the tiles over here. You can see it looks drastic visual change. There was, I guess this was rot, probably, maybe potentially termite damage at some point. It's hard to say, but I patched that as well. It looks so much better. And I also, you can see here, I added this trim piece so that it's got a nice edge there along the top. Um, and I mean, you'd never know that I added that after the fact because it like matches up with the way the trim goes on the sides and on the front. So, yeah, a lot of little things that I've done that I just never really mentioned in uh, videos to just try and clean things up. I mean, you can see how there's like gapping on this wall and things like that that I've tried to repair the best that I could. But yeah, the kitchen I would say is probably the first room as far as like how much time I've put in. The kitchen will probably be at the first where, I didn't really put any time into renovating the basement or the dining room, but the kitchen is one that I've put a bit of time into. Next on that list for time spent would be the living room. I sometimes feel like I've spent the most time renovating the living room, but I think that the bathroom probably takes the cake for that one. It's hard to remember like just how much time I've put into the bathroom, but that probably is the most time that I've spent. But I feel like I've put so much work into the living room because this is where I spend all of my time. So I really do kind of nitpick all of the little details in this room, just trying to make it feel perfect because this is where I always am and I'm always looking at everything in this room, so I want it to feel perfect. So I have put a lot of time into perfecting this room and making it feel like it's exactly how I want it to be, but I still think I've probably put more time into the bathroom, which I'll go over that next and, see some of the changes. But you can see the living room before I moved in. It looks so big in the pictures, which it is a pretty big room. It's very long though. It's kind of like awkwardly long. This is the door into the dining room, and then the door into the kitchen. Trying to figure out the layout of this house from these pictures um, was a nightmare. I looked through these pictures so many times before visiting the house, just trying to figure out the layout from these pictures, and I was so confused because there's so many doors. And they also didn't list any photos of the bedrooms, which confused me even more because I was trying to figure out which rooms were the bedrooms. Turned out that there weren't actually pictures of the bedrooms. But anyway, one of the first big projects that I did in the living room, and the only thing that I actually have photos of, was painting this wallpaper. This is also the only thing that I never worked on in a video. I did this kind of in my own time, and it didn't actually get uh, covered at all in any of the reno videos that I did. But I have this lovely textured wallpaper by my stairs, but it was in this god awful dark brown color that not only contrasted with the natural wood in the house, but also because the color was so dark, it completely hides the pattern on the wallpaper. You could only see it when you were like right up at it, which completely defeats the purpose of having like a really nice textured wallpaper if you can't even see the pattern on it. So, one of the first things that I wanted to do, and actually one of the first things when walking through the house, seeing it for the first time, I immediately thought, I want to paint that wallpaper. It was literally something, as soon as I saw it in person, that I knew I wanted to paint it if I moved into the house. So you can see here, I took this very grainy picture with my phone of this area once I had moved in and had all my things set up in the area. And then I took a picture after priming it with uh, white, and you can see just how drastic of a difference that is already with the white color. I mean, it already looked so much better without that super dark color on the wall. So I was already super excited after doing the primer. I was like, this is gonna look great in this other color. And then you can see once I have it painted a lighter color, you can already, even from this grainy photo and from far away, you can already start to see the texture of the wallpaper and see the pattern, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Like you can see that there's actually something here. Whereas in the other photo, it just looks brown. You can't see anything. Even though I'm taking it uh, the same quality picture from the same distance, you can actually see the pattern just from making it a different color, which is what I wanted. So it actually worked out perfectly with what I was hoping, which was to bring out the texture and the pattern in the wallpaper. So I was super happy with the way it turned out. I love this green color that I chose, and yeah, it was great. And I discussed in the last reno video that I did for the living room just how much time that I have put into the living room with all of the little details. You can actually see between these two photos of me painting the TV stand, which I ended up painting again because I didn't like the first color that I painted it. I also removed the legs of it so that it now sits flush on the ground, because you can kind of see like the gapping here was because the wood on the top was bowing um, from the weight. This was a hand-me-down from my sister, and she had a bigger TV on it, which had kind of bowed the wood a bit. So I took this off so that it sits flat on the ground and helped flatten out that base. I've discussed a lot in the videos where almost all of my furniture were hand-me-downs from my family, and it's just either like they bought new stuff, or my mom actually got a bunch of furniture when she bought her house. The previous owner had passed away and the house was sold as is, meaning that all of their possessions were still in the house. So when my mom bought the house, we bought the house and also all the furniture in it. So we acquired like all of this furniture on top of the furniture that we already had. So we had all this extra furniture in the house, and a lot of it was stuff from like the 70s, 80s, all this old stuff, which is why I ended up going with the mid-century modern theme for my house, was because all of this furniture that I was able to get was authentic like 70s furniture, and I realized that I could actually kind of make it look cohesive by going with the mid-century modern look, and just ended up realizing that I actually do like that style quite a lot. It is like a my personal preference. I do like it more than other styles of furniture, so I leaned into that. But because it was all acquired secondhand, not everything really matched, which is why I've put in so much time to like customizing everything to make it match better, which once again is something I've put a lot of time into, like customizing all of this furniture to make it go together. Um, and it's been super fun, super time consuming as well. But it's been nice to give all this furniture kind of a second life and make it work for me in my space. And I've just enjoyed it a lot. And it's something that I think I've probably done the most with the stuff in the living room, like painting the TV stand, and I've um, like spray painted a lot of things. I've mentioned previously where like all of the hardware in the house, all the hardware, even on the TV stand, like all the different hardware on all of the different furniture, even new furniture that I have bought, I've spray painted everything in gold so that everything matches. And it's just like a very easy way, even if you are buying your furniture new, it might not always come uh, in the color that you want or with the hardware color that you want. Like anything can be painted to customize it to exactly what you want. And yeah, it's not as hard as you may think to customize things because it could be just as simple as painting it. And you can paint it any color that you want and make it match. If you have maybe a furniture piece that you really love and you find something that you really like but it doesn't come in the color you want it to match that furniture piece that you already have, you can just paint it. It's not a big deal. um, Paint can get expensive, but for the most part, it's relatively affordable. So, yeah, something I highly recommend and something I've been doing just nonstop since moving in is customizing all of this secondhand furniture that I've gotten. You can see behind me, this is uh, the very top of the wingback chair that I mentioned in my dining room video that my neighbors put out on the side of the road. I had always wanted a wingback chair, and uh, so I got it for free, but it was in red, didn't really match anything else. So I bought some leather paint recently and painted it in dark green, which is a color that I've used in other places in the house. So I painted it and now it matches my other furniture. So doing things like that, I have my custom uh, DVD shelves that I built that I did the video on that I repurposed wood from DVD shelves that I already had. And I did move them since the video that I did. I put them in this corner and kind of did this like offset thing that I thought looked a little funkier. And it does actually, it's kind of funny, unintentionally. So I have this chair here, and these obviously are very high up, but I can reach them by standing on the chair. So it kind of like works perfectly that I have all of them there. So then when I need something off the top shelf, I can stand up on the chair and reach it. So yeah, I moved those over there. And I moved them over there because I got the new record player over in this corner and that sits up higher. So that's why I moved them. But yeah, doing all these little custom projects, refinishing secondhand furniture that I've gotten for free. Obviously, not everyone is in a situation like me where they can acquire a bunch of secondhand furniture, but a lot of people will put things out on the curb for free or like on Facebook Marketplace, things like that. And sometimes it's just a matter of like they just don't want it anymore. So they're just giving it away for free. It's not always because it's like broken or damaged. And sometimes, even if it is broken or damaged, it can be um, a pretty easy fix. So it's always something to be on the lookout for if you're willing to put in the time to customize or, repair things. It's a great option and you can save hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on buying brand new furniture. And I think it's fun because you get the furniture piece for free and then you put in maybe like $50 to buy some paint and you now can customize it to exactly what you want. So, like I said, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's just a fun way to have like essentially a custom piece that no one else has because you've, made it your own. So it's super fun, and I'm probably the most proud of the living room. I feel like I have put a lot of time into here, but I have definitely done more work in the bathroom. So let's move on to that because I really do forget just how much time I've put into the bathroom. But look at these before photos. This is what my bathroom looked like when I moved in, and you can see I had the faux um, tile. This is stamped plaster that is made to look like tile, but it's just a plaster wall. I had the chair railing. You can see like all this damage to this outer wall, like the paint is chipping and cracked and all of that. You can't see in the photo that the paint on the window frame was peeling very badly. along with the paint in the medicine cabinet as well. And go to the next picture, you can see my after photo. Now, this is the first time that I painted the bathroom, which I discussed in my reno videos for the bathroom, that you can kind of see in the photo. I had this awful, like, um, this line right here is from the wall. There was like a divot in the wall, and I had them all over the wall. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what was causing this to happen to the wall. Like, I assume it was something that happened during like the plastering process that caused the wall to be super uneven, but I didn't realize it until painting, like how there was all this weird unevenness going on with the wall. So this is actually after the first time I painted, and then I went back and patched up all of this unevenness and re-added texture to the walls with textured paint, and it was a whole thing. I have painted my bathroom, I think, 3 times, and not because I have changed the color, but because I spent so much time trying to patch the walls and make them look good. It was a very long process. So that's what I mean when I say I put a lot of time into the bathroom, just trying to make the walls look nice and smooth was an ordeal. And when I started this, I did not know what I was doing. I just kind of went at it and hoped for the best. I eventually ended up with a product that I'm pretty happy with, but yeah, this was the first pass of the before and after, and you can already see like how drastically different it looks. But here you can see kind of the process. The first thing that I did was to rip down that chair railing. I really hated how it came to um, the medicine cabinet like this. I did not like the way that that looked at all. But what you can't see in this photo is that there were like chips and divots and stuff in the wood as well. It wasn't in good condition, which is why I wanted to rip it out, because even if I wanted to keep the chair railing, it definitely needed to be like patched or fixed or something because it had dings and stuff in it. So, ripped that out. Immediately regretted my decision because I was like, oh, I need to do something about this right now. This looks awful. So I immediately started patching the walls. So this was my first go at patching the walls, to get rid of that faux tile texture that they had in the plaster. So I patched everything, and you can see I only did the tile section because this was before I realized that the upper part of the walls were also super uneven. So that's why I ended up going back and patching them a second time, because once I painted, then I could see all of these imperfections. So then I patched it again and painted again. So yeah, that was a whole process, but you can already see like the drastic transformation of getting rid of that faux tile texture. And I mean, you can kind of see like cracks and stuff in the wall. This is why I wanted to just get rid of this, because also was not in good condition. There were like holes and cracks and areas where it had kind of been like previously patched and things like that. So the stamped plaster was not in good condition at all. So that's why I decided to just cover it up, because it would have been really hard to try and like repair it and make it look um, like it was in good condition. It just wasn't really doable. So it was easier to just cover it up and make everything all one texture, which is what I ended up doing. This is once I got everything moved back into the bathroom after the first course of patching. Obviously, I've done way more work to the walls since then. Like I said, I've patched them again, repainted, And then I also ended up using a textured paint additive to add texture back to the wall to kind of even everything back out after all of the patching. This here, you can see the other side of the bathroom where the shower is, but also where the shelves are that I rebuilt. I did a whole video about rebuilding these shelves. You can see how ugly they were. Look at this weird trim around the edges, the weird trim over here on the wall. Um, this trim piece on the front being like two separate pieces of wood with a very obvious seam. The trim on this side being a different size than the trim on this side. All of the gapping here. The trim pieces along here to hide gapping. It was so ugly. And you can see another picture here of the shelves. Um, like I said, here you can see like two separate pieces of wood lining up. You can see like here they did like a nice 45 angle to make them meet, but then didn't do the same thing on the other side. And you can kind of see a bit clearer in this picture how like this side is a different size than this side, so it looks super uneven. And once again, like I said, all this gapping in the wood because the wood just was like scrap stuff. It wasn't nice pieces that they used. The pipe in the back that was visible because they just never covered it up. And you can see, so some of this damage here, this was me. This wasn't original when I moved in. You can see here, like none of that is there. That was from me, like ripping this trim piece off and then hammering it back into place. Because before I did the full demo of this, I did rip off this trim piece so I could see what was behind it. Because I was trying to get an idea of how I was going to rebuild it. So that damage was me. Also, like this down here, this really bad, like gapping, this was also me because I had ripped this panel off so I could see what was behind here when I was doing the planning process for the shelves. So some of the damage was caused by me while ripping it out. You can see like that isn't present in this photo. This was from before I moved in and started demoing out the shelf. But yeah, you can kind of see like over here that this trim piece, it wrapped all the way around, and the tile, the faux tile, also wrapped all the way around the bathroom. One thing that I didn't really mention, when I ripped the chair railing out, this piece of wood actually continues all the way back because at some point there was probably a clawfoot tub in this bathroom. So this chair railing actually used to go all the way around here. It was the whole way around the room. And I know that because I ripped my shower inserts out at one point to reinstall them because they were loose. They needed fresh silicone. So I actually had ripped these pieces out and saw behind them and could see where this piece used to go the whole way around. So this piece of chair railing actually goes inside of this shelf and they built a shelf around it. So when I went to rip this out, I busted a huge hole in the wall because I was using a crowbar and was prying it off of the wall, not realizing that it was literally like sandwiched behind this shelf and didn't realize how much force I was putting on it and just punched a hole right into the wall. So I had a hole right here for the longest time before I finally patched it. So just a fun story of the endeavors of redoing this bathroom. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, and like I said, I kind of forget how much time I've put into the bathroom, but it's been a lot of work with this bathroom. Like I said, repairing the walls mainly because I didn't know what I was doing. If I had done a bit more research into it, I might have gotten it right the first time. But I did have to do like multiple passes before I finally got it to a point that I was happy with. But yeah, I ripped out that, patched all the walls, painted everything. You can see in this photo, I took down um, the towel holder, and I actually cut this down to make it shorter and moved it to a different wall. So that was also like one of the first things I did when I moved in was like cutting this little pole down, um, which was one of those things where I was like, oh, I've never done this before. And it was before I had like any of my tools or anything really had started like delving into using tools other than like a screwdriver and a hammer. So that was actually one of the things where like I bought a specific saw to be able to cut this little metal pole, so that I could put it on a different wall because the wall was too short to fit the original. So I cut that down and moved it. I also spray painted. I don't know if I have. Oh, you can see here, I spray painted all of them in gold as well. Like I mentioned, all of the hardware in the house, I've spray painted gold to make it match everything and look like continuous throughout the whole house instead of having. I'm not a fan of mixed metals personally, so having all of the metal all match and be in gold. So that was another thing that I did, a small project, but it is something that, add it to the list of all of the little things that I have done. I also stripped the paint off of the window frame and off of the medicine cabinet because, like I mentioned, it was peeling very badly. And so I stripped all the paint back so I could do a fresh coat on everything. And let's see what else has happened in this bathroom. It has been quite the journey. I had quarter round down here along the baseboard that I ripped out because it was completely unnecessary. There was no reason for it to be there. Ripped that out and just did a quick pass with some caulk to seal up the small gap between the baseboard and the tile, and you would never know. And let's see, what else? I put a new shower rod in. My tub is pretty narrow, so I got one of the rounded shower rods so that the curtain kind of sits out a little bit, gives you a bit more arm room in the shower. So I put in a new shower rod. It also, my previous shower rod was just a tension rod, whereas my new rod is actually screwed into the wall. So I don't have to worry about, sometimes tension rods can fall down. Not super common if you have them put up properly, but I have had tension rods fall down before. So I now have like a more permanent um, shower rod in there. I also, like I mentioned, reinstalled my shower inserts because they were loose. Rebuilding the shelf, like I mentioned, painting everything, like I mentioned. I had to fix the catch on the door because the door wouldn't close properly because the catch was out of alignment. Almost every single catch on every single door in the house was out of alignment. Honestly, it's been a process to fix the alignment of all of the doors so that they latch correctly. And then the only other thing I can think of right now is that I put a new light in as well. So I had boob lights in all of the rooms upstairs, and I have replaced all of them, um, just to kind of do something a little bit nicer. It's not so much that I hated the previous lights, but in the bedrooms, I really wanted to have ceiling fans. So I put ceiling fans in both of the bedrooms. And then in the bathroom, so the shade on the light was frosted. And this is the only light that I have in the bathroom is above the sink, whereas the shower is back in this corner. And you can even kind of see in this photo that it's a bit dark in the shower. So I wanted to swap the light out for something that had a clear glass cover instead of a frosted one so that the light would be brighter. So I swapped it out, kind of like a similar style of like a rounded ceiling light, but instead, like I said, the glass cover on it is clear so that it doesn't uh, kind of mute the light quite as much. And then I actually put in these like cool big LED bulbs that just kind of look like nice, since you can't see the bulbs, it's something that kind of um, looks a bit more intentional. But yeah, that's really everything that comes to mind as far as the bathroom, which, like, saying it all quickly even kind of doesn't even really do it justice of all the time that I've put in. I mean, the patching of the walls was a process that went on for a few months because, like I said, I patched them and painted them, wasn't really happy with it, went back, patched them and painted them again, and then building the shelves like I mentioned in the video, rebuilding these shelves was a 3-month process. A lot of the time was spent demoing out these shelves because, as I went over in the video, ripping the shelves out was relatively easy, but demoing the top of this and then getting everything smoothed out so that um, it looked nice was a very long process. And then having to sand down the original frame since I couldn't remove it was quite a process as well. And it was something that I just worked on in my free time, like on my days off from work. So it was a 3-month long project to get those new shelves built. And yeah, it a lot of time in the bathroom. I'm super happy though with the outcome, even though I still haven't done the finishing touches on the shelves that I mentioned in that video. And I stopped working on those in May, and it is now November, and I have still not done anything with the shelves since then. They are exactly how I left them at the end of that video back in May. Have not done any of the paint. I haven't touched them since. I've styled them with some cute decor, but that is it. Have not touched them since. So that is it for this video, just kind of reminiscing from looking at all these photos of the house from before I moved in. Still, so many projects on the books, so many little things, some big things that I want to do with the house. Just trying to really make it feel like everything is exactly how I want it. I am a perfectionist. It is exhausting. Nothing ever really feels like it's quite right because I'm a perfectionist, which is why, like, finishing a project is so hard for me because it never really feels quite finished, and I tend to abandon a project in the last, like, 5% of completion because I know that I'm just gonna never quite feel satisfied with it. It's hard for me to like decide that it's as good as it's gonna get. But I'm kind of learning to accept that when it comes to like DIYing and building things, it's not about it being perfect. It's just about like doing your best and trying to make it uh match the vision that you had in your head. So slowly but surely I'm accepting that and doing my best to understand that, but it's still a struggle that I have all the time of just wanting things to be perfect, and they're never going to be perfect. So you just kind of have to learn to accept, you know, that this is the best that I can make it, and then accept that it's done. But yeah, lots of projects like I said, and kind of my goal right now, it's the beginning of December. I'm trying by the end of the year to wrap up as many projects as I can. Like I said, I have a tendency to kind of leave projects not quite finished. So I'm trying to wrap up all of those little projects around the house that I never quite got done. And I've been making a bit of progress. I mean, a lot of the things are just like tiny projects that kind of get sat to the side because I'm like, oh, that won't take long, or oh, I'll do that later. I've moved a lot of things around. Picture wise. So I have like a lot of random things that just need to be hung back up in the house. So little projects like that where it only takes like 5 or 10 minutes. I've been trying to get those done. And like I said, just kind of my goal to get as many of them done by the end of the year so that I can start off the new year with kind of a fresh mind and fresh projects to start instead of feeling like I have all these projects that I need to finish. I think I've mentioned in a video before that I've kind of created this little goal for myself, which is that by 2030, I want to have like the majority of these reno projects done. I was trying to think of like a more reasonable timeline for myself of like when I want to feel like I've accomplished a lot of the things in the house that I set out to accomplish. And I decided on 2030 because my house was built in 1930. So 2030, my house will be 100 years old. And that felt like a more realistic goal to set because I realized I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, feeling like I had to get these things done as fast as possible. So I've been trying to change that mindset to a more reasonable and healthy one for myself. So I felt like 2030 is, in 6 years, I want to try to set out to accomplish uh, what I want to accomplish with this house and get it to a point where I feel satisfied. Now, that's not to say that, like, after that time point that I'm never going to do any more projects in the house. I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing like small little reno projects with the house of just like tweaking things here and there. Um, it's always nice to like make small changes, but as far as like some of the major things with the house, I want to try and get done, like rebuilding the shelves in the bathroom, doing the built-in in the dining room, doing the reno stuff that I want to do in the kitchen. Like those bigger projects, the big changes, I want to try and get done uh, by that point. And then all the little tinkering things that I like to do to just change up the decor and things like that stuff that I think I'll always continue to do. It's more like getting those bigger ideas accomplished in that time frame is kind of what I want to do, get it done when I'm younger, and then once I'm older, I'm not trying to do all these like crazy big projects and I can just enjoy the house as it is. So that's kind of what the goal is. And I think that I'm on track to getting there. I think I've made really good progress and I think I know what I want to accomplish and I feel like my timeline to accomplish it is really reasonable. Like 6 years is pretty reasonable. Even if I'm doing like one major project a year, that's still six big projects to get done in that time frame, which I feel like is really reasonable expectation for myself. I've mentioned before that I do all these projects myself. I don't have anyone like coming over and helping me. It's not like I'm, making it out in the videos that I'm doing it all myself when there's actually someone here helping me. I really am doing it all myself. The most help that I get is from my brother, which is like he will often pick up supplies for me because I just have like a small car. So like just yesterday, he went and picked up some wood for me from Lowe's because like I said, I have a small car. I can't fit bigger pieces of wood in my car. But other than that, like I'm doing everything myself. So it's important to have like reasonable expectations on when I can get these things done and to not feel like I need to rush or feel guilty that I'm not getting them done faster because I'm only one person and I work full time. So like I only have so much time in the day and I shouldn't feel like I need to uh, push myself to get these things done. The whole point is to do it because I enjoy it and not do it because it needs to be done. I'm doing it because I want to, and I don't want it to start feeling like a task that needs to be completed. I want to make sure that I'm enjoying the process because it's something that I like to do. And so, yeah, I just want to keep that mindset going forward and make sure that I'm not like getting in this toxic mindset of like pushing myself to work on things when I don't want to, or feeling like I'm on some sort of timeline, because any timeline that I'm on is a timeline I'm creating for myself because there is no timeline. I do it when I want to, whenever I want to, no timeline for completion. I'm just trying to set goals for myself. Yeah, that's it for the video. Bit of a long video, but it's been 3 years and I wanted to do kind of a full retrospective of those 3 years. So that is it for the video. My next video might be on the kitchen. I recorded a video quite a while ago about the kitchen that I kind of forgot about. It's not about the big reno project for the kitchen that I've discussed before, but it is like a bit of a smaller uh, reno project, sort of like what I did with the dining room. Um, so that will probably be the next video or streaming. I do want to get back to streaming, um, especially like Thankmas is going on this month, so I thought it could be fun to stream for Thankmas. I don't know if I actually will or not, but I have been wanting to stream more. I can't believe it's already been like 4 months since the last time I streamed. I just keep on thinking about it and then never actually do it. So one of those two things. I do want to, keep doing videos. I know I uh, didn't do any videos there for a while. I had a crazy couple months of just like different things going on. My cat was having some health issues, and then I was in a car accident in October. I still don't have my car. It is currently being repaired. So, just like little things of like just uh kind of making things feel chaotic. So that's why like I didn't upload anything for a while. Nothing like super crazy. My cat is fine. I'm fine. But, when things like that happen, it's just kind of like a thought constantly in the back of your head of like, oh, I want to keep an eye on him and make sure he's okay. Do I need to take him back to the vet? Or like with my car, of just thinking like, oh, I need to do this, or oh, I'm like waiting to hear back from, the repair place or whatever. It just really having like that constant thought in the back of my head is like very distracting to me, of like having something that I'm constantly having to think about and like can't help but think about. So yeah, that's why like nothing really happened in these last few months, but everything kind of is starting to settle down a bit, so I want to get back into it. I also didn't really do much around the house either in these last few months because, like I said, it just felt like a lot was going on, even though it wasn't anything too crazy. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's been a crazy 3 years, and I hope that the next 3 years are just as much fun. All right. Bye, guys.